We have static and the dynamic. So far we have seen about the static factors, which include the orientation of the humeral head. Head and neck of the humerus is oriented angle of inclination with respect to the shaft of humerus, and also it is oriented with the torsional angle. If we compare with the hip and the shoulder is retroverted, that means the head and neck of the shoulder is oriented posteriorly with respect to the epicondyles of the humerus, whereas in hip, the head and neck of femur is oriented anteriorly with respect to the femoral condyles. This is what the torsional angle, what we have seen. Humeral retroversion is the torsional angle, where in the childhood stage it is almost 40 to 45 degrees, which keeps decreasing as we age. Next static factor is the scapular orientation. Scapula is oriented slightly anterior to the frontal plane, almost 30 degrees to the frontal plane, and it is slightly upward rotated, which contributes significantly to the static factor for the stability of the shoulder complex. So the upward rotation of the scapula makes the glenoid fossa orient slightly upwards, which provides stability, a structural or a static stability for the glenohumeral joint. The glenoid labrum, it deepens the socket of the glenoid fossa, thereby providing more stability to the glenohumeral joint. The capsular ligamentous structures, including the coracoacromial ligament, superior glenohumeral ligament, middle glenohumeral ligament, and inferior glenohumeral ligament, it merges with the capsule, thus providing static stability to the glenohumeral joint. Okay, so next we look into the dynamic factors. Those are the muscles of the shoulder complex which provide stability for the shoulder joint, which includes the major rotator cuff muscles that provide stability to the glenohumeral joint. So we know that sixth muscle forms the rotator cuff muscle, which provides stability to the glenohumeral joint, which includes supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and anteriorly the subscapularis. So all these muscles provide dynamic stability for the glenohumeral joint: supra, infra, teres minor, and subscapularis. So these are the movements of the scapula, upward and the downward rotation of the scapula in the posterior view. From the superior view, the internal and the external rotation of the scapula, then anterior and the posterior tipping of the scapula in the lateral view. First force couple is between the deltoid and the supraspinatus. Deltoid, if you resolute the force vector, you get a translatory force and the rotatory force. The rotatory force helps in providing the abduction of the humerus, whereas the translatory force results in the superior migration of the humerus. So there should be a proper force exertion from the supraspinatus in order to compensate the excessive superior migration of the deltoid, so that impingement won't occur. So the first force couple which provides glenohumeral stability is the deltoid and the supraspinatus. So where the superior migratory force will be offset by the compressive force of the humerus on the scapula by the supraspinatus. So the second force couple is between the deltoid and the inferior rotator cuff muscles. We know that inferior rotator cuff muscle, that is infraspinatus teres minor. So the superior migration of the humerus is not only offset by the supraspinatus, but it is also offset by the inferior migratory force of the inferior rotator cuff muscle, which includes infraspinatus and teres minor. Next force couple is the scapulothoracic force couple, which is important in providing stability, dynamic stability. That is, force couple is between the upper and the lower trapezius. Since these muscles are present medial to the scapula, it helps in providing adduction of the scapula, that is retraction of the scapula. So both the muscles are medial to the scapula, so it produces retraction of the scapula. Since the upper trapezius is present higher, it tends to produce elevation of the scapula, whereas the lower trapezius tend to produce depression of the scapula. And both the trapezius, upper and the lower, helps in producing the upward rotation of the scapula. So the common action is upward rotation and the retraction, or the adduction, we say. So adduction and the upward rotation are the common action of both the upper and the lower trapezius, whereas upper trapezius helps in elevating and the lower trapezius helps in depressing the scapula. So the force couple should be between the upper and the lower trapezius. That is, the elevation component or the elevating force by the upper trapezius should be compensated by the lower trapezius. And what happens is, most of the time, the lower trapezius tend to go for weakness, as we don't train lower trapezius much as upper trapezius. So it results in an abnormal force couple, leading to an elevation of the scapula, thus leading to impingement, compromising the subacromial space due to the elevation of the scapula, leading to impingement. So it is imperative to create or to train the lower trapezius so that the depression component of the lower trapezius can offset the elevation component of the upper trapezius. Thus, we can prevent the impingement to happen. So that's the force couple between the upper and the lower trapezius. The second force couple is between the trapezius, all the trapezius, and the serratus anterior. So you know that the action of trapezius, the common action of trapezius, since it is placed medial to the scapula, it helps in producing adduction of the scapula or the retraction of the scapula. And you know that the action of serratus anterior is the protraction of the scapula. So there should be a balance between the retractive function of the trapezius and the protractive function of the serratus anterior, so that there won't be any abnormality in the protraction of the retraction. You know that the upward rotators include serratus anterior, upper part of trapezius, and the lower part of trapezius. And you know the downward rotators of the scapula, levator scapulae, rhomboids, and the pectoralis minor. So there should be a balance between the upward rotators of the scapula and the downward rotators of the scapula. So that's the third force couple which provides scapulothoracic stability.